First of all, we are born scientists. When we're born, we wonder what's out there. We begin to wonder about the sun, life, the stars, what makes the oceans, the weather. We're born scientists. And then something happens. When we hit the danger years of junior high school and high school, that's when it's literally crushed out of us.
Those are the worst.
Every little flower of curiosity, said Einstein, is crushed by society itself. Because we have to learn all these facts, figures, memorization. We think that memorization is science. And that's not true at all. My daughter had to take the Regents exam once, and she had to memorize all these facts and figures about minerals, crystals for a geology exam. Nowhere did I see the true driving force of geology, which is continental drift. That's the organizing principle for all of geology. And yet the exam was memorizing all the names of the crystals and the minerals. And then later she comes up to me and says, "Daddy, why would anyone want to become a scientist?" That was the most humiliating event in my entire life. I felt like taking that book and ripping it apart, because that exam was crushing curiosity right out of the next generation. And then we wonder, hey, how come people are not more interested in science? Duh.
Is our educational system the operating system that control our true potential of human brain? We are born geniuses, but the education system dumbs us down. New study shows NASA has the foremost space program in the world, along with many of the brightest people. And recently they got in contact with Bet Jarman and Dr. George Land to come up with a test that was highly specialized. This was a test to measure the creative potential of their engineers and rocket scientists. The result was that the pair made a test that was unorthodox, which had roots in divergent thinking, the ability to be able to look into a problem and then come up with multiple solutions. The tests were efficient, and NASA was extremely pleased with the results. However, Land and Jarman, who had looked into the concept of creativity in a lot of detail while they were devising the test, decided that they wanted to look into and try to gain a better understanding of the true source of creativity. They wanted to know if it was a genetic trait, the result of life experience, or something entirely different. While the test that Jarman and Land had created for NASA was only very simple, it meant that it could be applied to virtually any age group. They found 1,600 children with the ages of between 4 and 5 and went on to measure their progress, and what they found in the study shocked them. Of the 1,600 children that had taken the test, 98% of them had scores of genius levels. The team was so excited by what they had found that they chose to make the test a longitudinal study. They gave the same group of children the same test but waited for 5 years. The findings were equally shocking, but this time for a totally different reason. The children at this point were in grade school, but they had declined and now scored 30%, which was a reduction of 68%. Again, the test was undertaken 5 years later on the same group, and this time they were in high school and had dropped to 12%. It seemed that they had started out as geniuses and then, through school, had got dumber. Land was intrigued and very disturbed by the study, and he chose to undertake the same test on adults which were aged 25 and over. Following many studies, he found that under 2% of all of the adults managed a score of genius level. To ensure the consistency of the results, they were replicated more than 1 million times. People are born with potential of genius, then get dumber. The implications of the study seem to be self-evident. People are born with the potential of being a creative genius, but then they go into the school system and they get dumber. The reason is not too difficult to apprehend, as school is an institution that has been put in place to serve the wants of the ruling class instead of the common people. It has always served as being a lawful mass indoctrination, whether it be the modern system in America, Germanic, Prussia, or Sparta. Children are seen to be one of the biggest threats to the corrupt system, and they have imaginations that are wild and which are so intense and remarkable. If they were to be left unchecked, it would result in a creative revolution that would comprise the proverbial monopoly game of the ruling class. In order for the elite to be able to keep up with their lavish lifestyle of luxury, a lifestyle in which they contribute the least but enjoy the most, children have to be dumbed down and brainwashed into acceptance of the rapacious system of unending exploitation and incessant war. Imagination can only be suppressed, not killed off. It was said that creativity is born in the mind, more so when it comes to imagination. The good news is that despite the best efforts of the ruling class to try to degrade the inner genius, the imagination may only be suppressed. It cannot be killed off. When people sleep, the imagination is stimulated. This means that the creative potential, the inner genius in everyone, is only sleeping, and it simply needs to be wakened up and rehabilitated. George Land said that based on the studies he had undertaken and the brain scans that he had looked at, people should learn to judge less and understand more. He also said that people should be more curious and criticize less, while anxiety and fear are very counterproductive. Land went on to say that some of the best ways to deal with debilitation is to take up meditation, yoga, or any other form of physical exercise, as they help with alleviating anxiety and stress. He also pointed out that they inspire neurogenesis, which creates new cells in the brain, while diet is also said to play a role that is important in mental strength. WER being systematically dumbed down. Land also talked about challenging the belief system and said that people should understand that what view they hold is wholly or partly the result of a type of societal indoctrination, and that regardless of how much people think they know, all people are ignorant in one way or another. He went on to say that people should develop a keen sensitivity to the environment around them. Try to avoid being surrounded by people who are narrow-minded. Put an end to watching news stations that incite fear and stop watching shows on TV along with music videos that stereotype. Land said that the imagination is the most important thing anyone can own and cultivate, and it cannot be allowed to be shaped by forces from the outside.